Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Self-Worth Saturday. So this week we are going to be talking about coping with rejection. But before we dive into this week's topic, let me give you the rundown, especially if you happen to be new to Self-Worth Saturday. So in this video series, what I like to do is tackle a topic that is related to self-worth, self-love, self-care, all that good stuff. I like to ramble a little bit about the topic of the week, and then I like to give you guys some journal prompts, a challenge for the week, something that you can take on to sort of take this information, this topic, and maybe put it to use in your actual day-to-day life. That's the goal. And what I do typically is premiere these videos. Now what that means on YouTube is that you may see a live chat happening either underneath this video or to the side. This video has been pre-recorded, but the live chat is there so that we can interact with one another as we watch the initial airing of this video. But if you're coming to this later, not to worry, that you can always comment down below and participate with us that way. So typically I like to talk about the topic of the week, give us some action steps, give us a couple journal prompts and a challenge. I like to wrap it up with an oracle card reading. So this week we're going to be looking at the Sacred Rebels oracle deck. But after this is all over, I also like to host with my wife Peggy a live chat where we sort of talk candidly in a really casual format about the topic as well. So that is hosted separately so that you can watch this video whenever you want, or rewatch the live chat or join us for the live chat. So there's lots of different ways you can interact with this content. So with that being said, I'm gonna dive right in. Before we get into this week's topic though, I'd like to touch base about last week. So last week we talked about social media self-care. And the challenge that I left us with was to pick one of your social media accounts that you currently were active on, and for the last week, to just try to be mindful and present with your social media engagement. Notice why you were engaging, notice how you were engaging, and just bring a little bit more of that awareness to the way that you were interacting, and to see if you could find a way that felt really good to interact on that one platform. So if you are in the live chat right now, or if you're watching this later, comment below or comment in the live chat and let us all know how you did last week. For me, I found that the platform that I really focused on was YouTube. That has been my focus lately, has been to really engage with YouTube in a mindful way. Because especially when I was new to this platform, I kind of went all in, and I did what Peggy and I affectionately call the wee splat kind of thing, where I get really excited and I go all in, and then I realize, oh crap, I'm so engaged right now that I don't know where or how to pull back. So I've been sort of slowly reeling myself back in over the last couple of months and just making sure that when I'm engaging, I'm being present. So if I'm commenting on somebody's video, I'm present with that content at the time that I'm commenting. If I'm enjoying content, but I don't really feel like I have something I'm really called to say, I'll click the like button to show my appreciation for the content creator, but I may not comment on every single video. And just sort of taking the pressure off of myself to feel like I needed to do that really helped me to really enjoy the interactions I was having on YouTube so much more. So I'd love to hear how it worked out for you after last week's topic. I also wanted to dive into, we're gonna now dive into this week's topic. So coping with rejection is actually a huge topic, and I didn't quite realize just how big it was until I started diving in and figuring out what it was that I wanted to talk about and how I wanted to frame the conversation, because there's just a lot to say. So the thing about rejection in general is that it's a unifying feeling. All of us have been rejected at some point in our lives in some fashion, and most of us are rejected many times in a day or a week in small ways that we probably don't even really notice. So I want to talk first a little bit about, I'm gonna have a drink of water. I was like, do I have a drink or do I wait? Do I have a drink or do I wait? I'm gonna have a drink. So I wanted to start with a definition of rejection. So Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines the term or the word reject as the refusal to accept, consider, submit to, take for some purpose, use, or the refusal to hear, receive, or admit. So basically, a rejection involves you offering something and someone else saying or indicating that they're not interested in what it is that you are offering. So the thing about this is that refusal can be on a tangible thing that you're offering, like an actual physical object, or a proposal or something like that, but it can also be on an intangible thing, such as a show of affection, like asking somebody for a hug, or asking somebody out on a date, or going to a job interview. There are a bazillion different ways that we put things on offer, tangible and intangible, to other people all the time in our day-to-day lives. So whenever somebody turns that offer down, that is a type of rejection. So why does it feel so personal when somebody rejects whatever it is that we've just offered? It's because it is personal. For most of us, when we're offering something to somebody else, even if it's in a professional setting, it's because we think this thing that we're offering is going to be of value to the other person. And when it turns out that that other person doesn't see the same value in it that we do, it feels like not that the item we've offered or the thing we've offered has been rejected, but that we've been rejected and that we have been deemed unworthy. It kind of feels like somebody is saying not that what you're offering is not good enough, but that you're not good enough. And that's what we tend to feel and to hear and to take on, is this idea that, oh, I'm not good enough. But is that really what people are saying to us when they're rejecting or refusing to accept what it is that we're offering? And that's kind of what I want to unpack a little bit today. So how do we receive this rejection without a huge hit to our self-esteem? Sorry, my forehead and my eyebrows are itchy. Does anybody else's eyebrows get itchy? I know that's totally random. Sorry, had to share. It's either my nose or it's my eyebrows. There you go. So let's talk about how we can approach this idea of accepting when other people don't want to accept what we're offering without it feeling like such a huge hit to our self-worth. So the first tip I'm going to give you is to recognize the difference between the offer and who you are. So you're never really offering who you are up to somebody else, to an organization, to a person. You're only ever putting together, in a way, this bundle of tangible or intangible stuff and saying, hey, do you want this thing? And the other person or the organization or whatever situation you might be in can then say or indicate, yes, I want this stuff, or no, I don't want this stuff. And so I think it's really important to recognize that it's the stuff we're negotiating here, not who we intrinsically are as a person. Therefore, you could conclude that when somebody then turns down the stuff or the offer, they're rejecting the offer, not you. And it's really, really easy to muddy those waters, and I know that it sounds like I'm oversimplifying it, and to some degree I am, but let's take an example of an intangible offer. A job interview. When you go to a job interview, at least when I go to a job interview, I very much feel like I am on the table for discussion as worthy, not worthy. But really, what's on the table in a job interview is a combination of my skills, my experience, my education, how much money I might want, my personality, my charisma or lack thereof, my ability to click with the person that I am interviewing with. All of these other things are on the table, but I'm not actually on the table. And if the person interviewing me or the company interviewing me looks at that package that I've presented to them of who I could be on the job, if they look at that offer and they decide, no, not the right fit, it's not me that is somehow inherently unworthy or not good enough. It's that this package doesn't fit what they need at that time or what they want at that time. And that's about their preferences and their opinions. I hope that makes some sort of sense. So it's important to distinguish between the offer, what is being presented, and you. So another thing that will help to package or to reframe how you feel about rejection is to recognize the difference between an offer, as we've just discussed, and an obligation. This is more about the headspace that you take into any of your potential offers that you might make throughout a day, a week, a month, a year. Whether it is asking somebody out on a date, or asking a friend out for coffee, or making an advance on your partner, or giving somebody a gift, or whatever it might be, whatever offer could indicate, if somebody refuses, that would make you feel rejected. There's an offer, and then there's an obligation. If you're offering something to somebody, that means that you're okay with them deciding whether they want to accept it or not, because an offer is optional. But if what you're coming to the table with is more of a obligation, then you're invested in a yes to the point that it's going to be really uncomfortable if you get a no instead. So as an example, let's go back to the job interview example. If I go to a job interview and I'm coming into that interview with a, you have to say yes, you have to say yes, you have to say yes, then I'm literally setting myself up to feel intense rejection if they say no. But if I go into an interview going, hey, if we're a good fit, you're gonna say yes and it's meant to be, cool. And if we're not a good fit, you're gonna say no. That doesn't mean that I'm not gonna be disappointed if they say no, but it means I'm going into it with an awareness that it's ultimately their decision and I don't have control over that. All I can do is put what I have to offer on the table and hope that it's a good fit. But hoping and obligation are two different things. It's the same thing if you give a present to somebody. If you give a present to somebody, you're hoping they're gonna like it. Of course, aren't we all? But if they ultimately don't like it, do you want them to feel obligated to pretend they like it? And that's an okay thing to think about, right? Like, sometimes we are in a place where we just need to admit it and be like, I am desperately hoping you're gonna like this, and I might be really disappointed if you don't. We can own that in our heads, but I think it's important to know when you're offering versus when you're really attached to a particular answer. This is something that's been really helpful with me and Peggy in our relationship, and something that she's sort of actively been working with me on over the years, is knowing when I'm really fixated on a particular answer and admitting that up front so that she kind of knows, okay, she's a little fixated, and then we can have a discussion. But if I'm pretending I'm not fixated and I'm just offering, when in reality I'm kind of obligating, I think that's important information to have and to be a part of the conversation, especially with people that you know and you trust. But I kind of sidetracked a little bit. The point is, know when you're offering versus when you're obligating. And I think that can make a big difference in how you're feeling when you're approaching these moments of putting yourself out there. I think it's also really important to know that disappointment is completely normal and allowed. It's not like we don't get disappointed when things don't unfold the way that we want them to. Of course we do. We get disappointed, we get bummed out, we feel rejected. But when rejection becomes crippling is when we take that disappointment and we turn it on ourselves as self-beratement, and our inner critic comes out. I'll just cue the video about our inner critic right up there in the cards for you, because that was also a big topic. But when we turn that disappointment into self-reproach, self-recrimination, self-blame, then it turns from disappointment to crippling rejection and crippling feelings of failure, and these things that stop us in our track and prevent us from actually doing the things that we really want to do. I think that when we're able to remember that disappointment is normal, we're allowed to feel disappointed, we're allowed to experience that emotion and that feeling, but we also don't have to let it stop us from putting ourselves out there the next time, we can put things in perspective. And I think that the key to all of this is remembering that the offer is not you. Let's use something that might be a little bit more intense for some people. You're in a romantic relationship and you make an advance on your partner. You're like, I want to get some, right? Okay, so you make an advance and your partner's like, honey, I have a headache. Now, in that moment, you could go, oh my God, I'm not attractive, I'm a failure, what's wrong with me, why don't they want me? Like, you can go down this whole big rabbit hole. Sorry for anybody that does not like this example, but I wanted to think of something personal, right? So if you're in that moment, you can make it all about you and how you don't measure up, or you could reel yourself back in and go, wait, what was on offer was an experience. And if that other person isn't in a space to enjoy or be present for that experience, then don't we want them to say they're not up for it? You know what I mean? So again, offer versus obligation, and remembering that the offer is not you. The offer is just the offer. And in that sort of situation, you're offering an experience. And if the other person isn't in a place to enjoy that experience, of course they're going to say no to that offer. But does that mean that there's something wrong with you? No, it doesn't. So let's look at it that way. Another thing is that rejection does not always equal, make sure I didn't skip a point here. No. Okay. Rejection does not always equal failure. A lot of times we think of rejection meaning that we messed up. We made a mistake. We didn't do it right. We didn't have the right thing to offer, we didn't know enough, we didn't do the right thing. Anyways, I'm kind of in a circle. Oh, we have a puppy that's either trying to avoid eating or... No, she's just pouting. See, sorry, you could probably hear Peggy and Steve chit-chatting in the background, but they're just doing their thing. Oh, look, I have a Bruno. Hello. Bruno says hi. Say hi, Bruno. Hello. He's real happy now. Okay, sorry. Puppy distractions are the best. Anyways, what was I even saying? Reel it back in, reel it back in. Oh, rejection does not equal failure. So a lot of times we assume that if there's been a rejection that we've done something wrong. Rejection doesn't always equal failure. Sometimes it just is a difference in taste. Oh my gosh, oh my goodness.
Hi, come here you.
We have a Peggy now.
Yeah, I'll put you back for the other dog in a second. They're getting baths.
They're getting baths, guys. Rejection does not equal failure. Look, I kept my train of thought very, very briefly this time. We'll see how it lasts. I'm sorry that there's all the noise and distraction, but I'm 16 minutes into this video, so I'm not gonna give up. We're just gonna keep going.
I am very sorry, but I don't want a bath princess. It's trying to be difficult. I got her. I got her.
Bye, Peggy. Have good bath times with the puppies.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're all here for it though, right? Okay, so let's assume though for a second that some of your rejection experiences or the times you felt rejected have been because of mistakes on your part or doing something badly or something going wrong that you could have controlled or foreseen. In those situations, these are massive opportunities for learning and growth, whether it is interpersonally, whether it is professionally, whether it's creatively. When we have these moments where we feel like we are a failure, if we pause and pull ourselves back from that a little bit and go, wait, where is the opportunity? Where's the opportunity to learn and to grow? And I know it sounds so cheesy, but I don't know about you guys, but for me, when I'm really feeling bummed out or disappointed, I look to something that I can do, something tangible. If, I'll use a really silly example. Peggy and I have an argument and like, I know that I've been a jerk. I'm gonna like do the dishes or like make her a cup of tea or like, I just need to do something tangible because it makes me feel better. And when we think about the larger rejections in our life, when we think about, I submitted this proposal to my boss and they rejected it. And it's because my proposal needed more work. I probably could have spent more time on it. Then next time I'll know, okay, I'm gonna revamp this proposal, do more to refine it, and then try again next time. A silly example, but I hope it makes some sort of sense. We have this opportunity to learn, grow, reframe, and try things a different way. And I think when we take that opportunity, we have these moments where we can just explode with our personal growth. The other thing that I think is really important, and this is my sixth and final point, and then I will recap, and that is recognizing that your worth is never, ever defined by other people's opinions. And knowing that is absolutely critical to embracing self-confidence. And if one thing is going to level up your charisma and the way you bring offers of any kind, personally or professionally or creatively to the table, self-confidence will be your superpower. So let's recap a little bit. So the 6 main points that I covered, because I know there was like a lot of like me off on tangents, but here's the 6 main points. Number 1, recognize the difference between what is on offer and who you are. Point number 2, learn the difference and understand the difference between coming to somebody with an offer versus coming to somebody with an obligation. Try as much as you can to come to the table with offers, because offers mean that you can better accept if the answer doesn't come back the way that you want it to come back. Be open and let there be more expansive return on the answer that's going to come back to you. Number 3, disappointment is normal. When things don't go the way that you want them to go. So let yourself have that emotion. It's completely fine. You're allowed to feel it. But try not to wallow and let that disappointment turn into self-reproach and all of that good stuff. Bad stuff. All of that bad stuff. Number 4, rejection does not always equal failure. In fact, most of the time it doesn't. Most of the rejection we experience is because other people have their own opinions, wants, needs, and desires, and they're just not meshing with ours. Some of the biggest rejections that we literally experience in our lives is because of a relationship that we value more than the other person values for whatever reason. These can be friendships, romantic relationships, and sometimes people have grown apart, or one person's grown in a way that the other person hasn't grown, or the other way around, or things have shifted and moved and changed, and that's beautiful and it's amazing, and it is not about you not being worthy. It's just about not being in the same place as somebody else, and that's completely okay. Point number 5, accept that I think I skipped this before. Oops! Point number 5. Accept that most forms of rejection are completely outside of your control. You can only control what you offer. You can't control how somebody else is going to respond to that offer, and that counts for tangible things that you put on offer and intangible things like your feelings, your emotions, your love, your trust, that sort of stuff. And number 6, recognize that your worth is never defined by other people's opinions. And if you can recognize that, you will have such a self-confidence boost. It will be unreal. There was a saying I was told once that I really genuinely appreciated, and it was about relationships and how people move on from one another and how things shift and change and move when it comes to those interpersonal relationships. And it was so helpful to me during a really, really difficult time in my life. But the parable, such as it was, and I'm repeating it now, so bear with me, is that if you can imagine that life is like we're all climbing a mountain and we're all taking a really winding path up this mountain. And if we see the path as sort of our personal growth, our experience with personal growth, sometimes we will meet people on that path and we'll be at the same place and we'll be walking at the same speed at the same time, and we get to sort of walk with that person for a while. And then sometimes we need to pause on that personal growth path and take a rest. Or sometimes the other person needs to pause and take a rest. Or maybe we need to speed up or slow down, or they need to speed up or slow down. But if we try to drag the other person along with us, if we're outpacing them, then we're pulling them before they're ready, and that's doing them a disservice. If we let somebody else drag us along ahead of time, then we're letting them do a disservice to us. Same thing if you let somebody drag you backward, or you drag somebody else backward, or you make somebody stop with you because you don't want to let them go. There's a thing here where we recognize that we're on our individual journeys, and we need to honor those journeys and honor the journeys of the other people that we encounter in our lives. And there's something really beautiful and powerful about that reminds us that there's no bad place to be, but we might not always be at the same place at the same time, and that's okay. The other thing I wanted to share with you is something I learned when I was becoming a yoga teacher and trying to learn how to please everybody in the room. Newsflash, you can't. I had to learn not to constantly be shifting and changing my teaching style to suit every comment or piece of feedback I would receive at the end of a class. Because I recognized that if I did that, I would never be offering a consistent experience to anybody in the room. Hi, they're back with towels now. Anyway, and what I learned was that I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and neither are you. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. They're going to need to find the person, everybody needs to find the person that matches their flavor. This is what, there's like, dog just fell off the bed. Okay.
You kind of rolled down intentionally. I'm very sorry.
Bye.
I couldn't wait, it had to be done.
Why? You're not everybody's cup of tea, and not everybody is your cup of tea. We all have flavor preferences. RIP your ears, headphone users. Anyway, I better wrap this up because this is getting a little crazy. Point being, be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. How many other like fun parables can I squeeze into this? Now that the dogs have had bath time, things are about to get real nuts. So we're gonna jump right into journal prompts. Okay, here we go. You ready? Journal prompt number 1. Write down 3 times that you have experienced rejection. Journal prompt number 2. The dogs are killing each other. Journal prompt number 2. For each of the 3, write down how the offer that you made in those situations was not who you are, but was the offer. And journal prompt number 3, for each of the 3, write down one thing that you have learned or could learn from the experience. Okay, I'm gonna hit us with our challenge while I shuffle the oracle cards for the week. So as I shuffle, here is our challenge for the week. Our challenge is going to be to notice what offers you reject this week. Notice when people bring you things and you say no, or you avoid, or you turn away, or you, in some form, small or big, you reject that offer. And just notice if, and this can be simple. This can be something as simple as being at the drive-thru and being asked if you want fries with your burger. Notice when you say no or when you reject somebody else's offer. And then just notice what it's like to be the rejector. Notice if what you're rejecting is the offer or the person. I find that when I focus more on what it feels like to do the rejecting, I notice that 99.9% of the time, I can tell, like I can see it so clearly that I'm rejecting the offer and not the person. But then when I experience that exact same thing in reverse, I somehow feel like it's about me and not the offer. And I think it's a really interesting exercise to play with the idea of noticing what it's like to reject other things and how it feels. And just kind of reel yourself back into what it feels like, and that can help put everything in perspective. Most importantly, I just want you to remember that if you are experiencing rejection of any kind, congratulations. It means you're actually putting yourself out there and you're trying things, and that is amazing. That is amazing, and it should be celebrated. Even though you're gonna have some disappointments and things aren't always gonna go the way that you want, just remember that just the fact that you're experiencing it means that you're trying new things, you're putting new things on offer, and I think that's really powerful and important. So, we're gonna pull out an oracle card, and Shayla's gonna knock over the tripod, maybe?
Shayla, baby, this way.
And we have pulled what is already with you. See if I can do this without glare. What is already with you? I think this is such a beautiful card to pull. Like, how perfect is that? The whole premise of this card, like it shows hands. I'm describing to you what it shows while I look at it in the viewfinder, sorry. But it's like hands with little butterflies coming out, and it's all about what is already inside of you. You already have everything you need. If somebody else decides that that's not their cup of tea, that's not their flavor, whatever you're offering isn't suiting them, that's their opinion, totally subjective, and that's cool. They're allowed. But just know that it doesn't change the fact that what you have to offer, what is already within you, is already perfect just as it is. You are worthy and you are enough, exactly as you are today. And nothing anybody else says or does can take that away from you unless you let them. So with that said, I'm going to wrap this chaotic Self-Worth Saturday video up. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember to repeat to yourself as often as possible, I am worthy and I am unafraid. Remember to comment down below if you'd like to share anything, or in the live chat on the side of this video or underneath this video, or in the actual live hosted chat that we'll be doing after this. You can always just chat about this in the private Supportive Tarot Facebook group, or you can VR this, you can blog about this, you can journal about this. Just interact whatever way makes sense to you so that you can get the most out of this Self-Worth Saturday topic. If anything is unclear, hit me up with your questions down below, and I will be seeing you all again very, very soon.